white supremacist after Charlottesville. Just in case you were wondering what side Trump's on, it's on the side of the Nazis, the same side Republicans in Congress are on. And then somebody replied, so are some at the hearings. Notice her hand. WTF. Okay, you guys are idiots. You guys are idiots. This is like the left's Pizzagate. They're idiots on all sides. They're conspiracy theorists on all sides. This is just the latest conspiracy theory, but it is not the only conspiracy theory. So there's another conspiracy theory going around yesterday. It was promoted by a guy named Fred Gutenberg. Fred Gutenberg's daughter was killed tragically in the Parkland shooting in an act of tremendous evil, obviously. And Gutenberg is a motivated leftist. He's been a motivated leftist for a long time. And Gutenberg basically went to this hearing with the sole intention of trying to get Brett Kavanaugh not nominated. He tweeted in advance that he wants to see Brett Kavanaugh not nominated, and he was going to the hearing to try and stop that. So he tweeted out, here's what he tweeted. He tweeted, just walked up to Judge Kavanaugh as morning session ended. Put out my hand to introduce myself as Jamie Gutenberg's dad. He pulled his hand back, turned his back to me, and walked away. I guess he did not want to deal with the reality of gun violence. Okay, this flew around the internet. Chris Cuomo claimed that this was a true story. Chris Cuomo did a whole story about how Kavanaugh had ignored Fred Gutenberg. All of this was just Kavanaugh being vile to the parent of a Parkland survivor. Yeah, CNN is not fake news. They're just, an apple is an apple and a banana is a banana, and CNN is news. Not fake news, news. Here's Chris Cuomo, again, really gaining on his brother in the dumb Cuomo brothers race. Last week, Andrew had pulled ahead like Secretariat, but now here he comes like man of war, up from behind. Pretty amazing stuff. Anyway, here's Chris Cuomo giving credence to this story, which turns out to be a full lie.
The judge should be asked why. Well, justice is supposed to be blind, but that means unbiased, not ignoring what is right in front of your face. Why did you do that? I don't mean to indict him. He may have a good reason. He may have no reason. He may say, I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't even know what was going on. I just wanted to get out of there. Maybe, but we need to hear it. Why? Because I hope that in Kavanaugh's mind, Gutenberg didn't represent a set of beliefs that he finds so threatening that he couldn't even make contact. That's why the judge should explain. Oh, my God. So Judge Kavanaugh now has to explain why a rando, I mean, and let's be real about this. Fred Gutenberg is not a famous person. If you met Fred Gutenberg on the street, you would have no idea who he was. You are more likely to know who Steve Gutenberg is than who Fred Gutenberg is. You have no clue who Fred Gutenberg is. You've probably never seen his face. This is not a famous human being. It's not like Brad Pitt walked up to him and extended his hand. Okay, it's a guy who would have to explain who he was. Now, here's the actual video of what happened from inside the room. You will see that this is not what happens. Okay, Judge Kavanaugh is excused. What you're going to see here is Judge Kavanaugh gets up. Gutenberg approaches him from behind, extends his hand. Kavanaugh turns to look at him and see what's going on, and then security grabs him. Okay, security is already on him, and Kavanaugh walks away. Okay, that's what happens there. It's not that he stands there and then refuses to shake his hand. You can see, here comes security from behind to grab Kavanaugh. Now, I have been in positions, many positions, in crowded areas where people are ushering me out of a room and people want to shake my hand. This happens to me at university campuses all the time. And if somebody extends their hand and security walks up to them, I'm not going to walk over there. I assume that security is doing that for a reason. Do you really think that Brett Kavanaugh is really like, you know what, I can't shake this guy's hand because I know who he is and I disdain him? Do you really think that that's credible in any way? Again, you can see the video from behind as security runs up to grab Gutenberg because he's running up at a break to try and shake Kavanaugh's hand. And again, this was all planted. This is all done on purpose. Gutenberg said in advance that he was attempting to sink Kavanaugh's nomination, and then suddenly he got exactly what he wants when Kavanaugh supposedly stiffs him. What absolute horse crap. It's just horse crap. Okay, the video shows that it's horse crap. Kavanaugh had to change his story. Not Kavanaugh. Gutenberg had to change his story. Originally, he claimed that Kavanaugh clearly heard him, and then Kavanaugh decided to walk away. Then he claimed that maybe Kavanaugh didn't hear him. It didn't matter. He was featured all over the news last night. All of this is sheer nonsense. It's sheer nonsense. So Ben Sasse apparently now has to explain to Democrats how these judicial hearings are supposed to work. And here is Ben Sasse, senator from Nebraska, giving a bit of an education to folks on how these hearings are supposed to work and how dumb these hearings have become.
I want to make just 4 brief points. Number 1, in our system, the legislative branch is supposed to be the center of our politics. Number 2, it's not. Third consequence is that this transfer of power means the people yearn for a place where politics can actually be done. And when we don't do a lot of big actual political debating here, we transfer it to the Supreme Court. And fourth and finally, we badly need to restore the proper duties and the balance of power from our constitutional system.
Okay, and he's right about all of these things, but we're not going to do any of that stuff. Instead, what we're going to do is shout at each other and pretend that Fred Gutenberg got stiffed by Brett Kavanaugh and scream until we're arrested and all the rest of this nonsense, because the apocalyptic rhetoric is the name of the game. It's what we are all supposed to focus in on. And then as soon as anyone takes the apocalyptic rhetoric seriously and says, you know what, I don't like you anymore because we're not going to be friends. We're not going to pretend to be friends because, hey, the country is at stake. Then it's, well, don't you get the game? Don't you get how the game works? You can't have it both ways. Either you can use the apocalyptic rhetoric and take this thing seriously, or you could actually use true rhetoric, and then maybe we could be a little bit civil to one another. And not everything is the apocalypse. And I'm sorry, Judge Brett Kavanaugh joining the Supreme Court is far from the apocalypse. It is really, really far from the apocalypse. In just a second, I'm going to give you the latest on Bob Woodward, who has a new book coming out. And this, of course, has the left in a tizzy because anytime there's a gossip book about the president, they're up for it. But first, let's talk about a sexy topic, your air filters. I know you're thinking right now, why do I want to think about my air filters? The answer is because you haven't thought about it for a while and you're probably breathing gunk. The reality is you need to go check out your air filters right now. Open up that vent. What you're going to see is a dirty air filter because you haven't replaced it forever, which is why you need to head over to my friends over at FilterBuy. This is especially important with 95% of the global population breathing unsafe air. So do the smart thing. Go to filterbuy.com, America's leading provider of HVAC filters for homes and small businesses. Choose from over 600 sizes, including custom options that ship free within 24 hours. Plus, they support working Americans manufacturing all their filters right here in the United States. Save 5% when you subscribe for auto replacement, so you'll never forget to change those filters ever again. You'll always ensure that you are breathing clean air. FilterBuy will save you time and money, and you're going to breathe better, and apparently become more intelligent in the process. I mean, that's apparently what's happened to all the folks at the office since we replaced the filters with FilterBuy. So stop procrastinating right now. That's filterbuy.com, filterbuy.com. Tell them I sent you again. It's filterbuy.com, filterbuy.com, and get on that auto schedule to save 5%, and then you never have to think about your filters ever again. Okay, so meanwhile, while all of this is going on, the media are in a tizzy about President Trump, as always, because we now suffer from wild Trump derangement syndrome in the media. Bob Woodward has a new book, and his new book basically says that Trump is a senile, old, crazy person who doesn't know what he's doing, which is not much of a claim, since I think the entire left thinks that, and I think large swaths of the right have basically priced in all of the typical Trump craziness into whatever it is that President Trump does. Nonetheless, we're going to hear all these stories about the chaos that is President Trump. I think the funniest part of this is that Bob Woodward, so Trump is denying any of this is true. Members of his administration are denying any of this is true. General James Mad Dog Mattis says that Woodward's reporting on him is fiction and, quote, a product of someone's rich imagination, because Woodward wrote that Mattis once described Trump as having the understanding of a 5th or 6th grader when it comes to the Korean Peninsula. Mattis responded by saying, the contemptuous words about the president attributed to me in Woodward's book were never uttered by me or in my presence. While I generally enjoy reading fiction, this is a uniquely Washington brand of literature, and his anonymous sources do not lend credibility. This is not supremely shocking stuff. Woodward's going to claim people said stuff. People in the administration are going to claim they didn't say stuff. This is the problem with anonymous sourcing. It's he said, she said. According to the book, Mattis said after a meeting at which Trump questioned the U.S. government spending money on the Korean Peninsula, Mattis supposedly said that he was exasperated and alarmed, and he told close associates the president acted like and had the understanding of a 5th or 6th grader. Apparently, the defense chief said in his statement, responsible policymaking in the real world is inherently messy, though it is also essential that we challenge every assumption to find the best option. He says, in serving this administration, the idea I would show contempt for the elected commander-in-chief, President Trump, or tolerate disrespect to the office of the president from within our Defense Department is a product of someone's rich imagination. So Mattis already throwing shade at Bob Woodward's book. But that's not stopping the press from having a field day with all of this. President Trump had a conversation with Bob Woodward. Woodward apparently called up Trump and wanted to know why Trump wouldn't be interviewed for the book. And Trump basically shied it off. He basically says, you didn't go through the proper channels. Here's Trump trying to pretend that he hadn't heard about Woodward's book and then saying that he did hear about Woodward's book, but he didn't want to talk to him. The reality is Trump doesn't have to talk to Bob Woodward. There's nothing there that suggests that Trump has to, for any reason, talk to Bob Woodward. It's just another book that smacks the president. No shock here.
How can I spend all this time talking to people and like Kellyanne and Raj and Republican senators? I mean,
who are the senators? No, they never called me about it.
Senator Graham said he had talked to you about talking to me. Now, is that not true?
Senator Graham actually mentioned it quickly on one meeting, and
we'll see,
that is true. That is true. Well, but that is true.
So basically, there's Trump basically saying, I was mentioned to a lot of people that I should talk to you. I've decided not to, or it's somebody else's fault. Woodward released the tapes basically to show that his research is true and that he has tapes of a lot of these people. Regardless, I'm not seeing anything in the book that is anything different from what people already believe about President Trump. So, for example, the Washington Post reports, a central theme of the book is the stealthy machinations used by those in Trump's inner sanctum to try to control his impulses and prevent disasters, both for the president personally and for the nation who's elected to lead. Woodward describes an administrative coup d'etat and a nervous breakdown of the executive branch, with senior aides conspiring to pluck official papers from the president's desk so he couldn't see or sign them. Again and again, Woodward recounts at length how Trump's national security team was shaken by his lack of curiosity and knowledge about world affairs and his contempt for the mainstream perspectives of military and intelligence leaders. In one particular situation, supposedly Gary Cohn actually took a document off of Trump's desk to prevent him from signing it, which is actually somewhat hilarious. So there's all these stories about how his advisors are basically attempting to rein President Trump in. Is all this believable? Of course this stuff's believable. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's not believable that his advisors are all trying to rein him in and prevent him from doing dumb things. That's not a shock in any real way. And Woodward reports on some of these overdramatic moments of escalation when Steve Bannon, for example, started screaming at Ivanka Trump, calling her a GD staffer and saying, you walk around this place, act like you're in charge. You're not. You're on staff. And Ivanka Trump replying, I'm not a staffer. I'll never be a staffer. I'm the first daughter. And Reince Priebus saying, when you put a snake and a rat and a falcon and a rabbit and a shark and a seal in a zoo without walls, things start getting nasty and bloody. Okay, I mean, all this stuff, like, frankly, who cares? I got to be honest with you. Who cares? Like, did you not know this was going on? Did you not really believe this is going on? Do you really believe that this place functions like a well-oiled machine? Of course it doesn't function like a well-oiled machine. It functions like the set of The Apprentice, except without all of the good editorial cuts. It functions like what got left on the cutting room at The Apprentice, because that's how Trump runs things. Okay, and so far, the economy is fine, and we're not in the middle of any foreign crisis, and things are basically okay. Now, I will say the feeling of chaos from the Trump administration is really what's hurting President Trump's approval ratings. Now, the latest revelations from Woodward's book come courtesy of Axios. So this is what Woodward writes. The operations of the Oval Office and White House were less the art of the deal and more often the unraveling of the deal. The unraveling was often right before your eyes, a Trump rally on continuous loop. There was no way not to look. So here is some of the stuff that Woodward reports. Trump to James Clapper, then Director of National Intelligence, who briefed him at Trump Tower during the transition on the intelligence community's findings that Putin had interfered in the election, quote, I don't believe in human sources. These are people who have sold their souls and sold out their country. I don't trust human intelligence and these spies. So he didn't believe, but we know that. He tweeted that stuff out already. Like, okay. Apparently, Secretary Mattis said, secretaries of defense don't always get to choose the president they work for. Okay, why would that be shocking? Trump said to Tom Bossert, the president's advisor for Homeland Security, Cybersecurity, and Counterterrorism, who asked Trump if he had a minute, quote, I want to watch the Masters. You and your cyber are going to get me in a war with all your cyber bleep. All right, I mean, like, again, baked into the cake, man. Everybody knew all this stuff. Trump was given a Reader's Digest version of the Hezbollah briefing, and we knew, this has been reported for years, that Trump basically takes his security briefings in bite-sized chunks. And apparently, Trump was editing an upcoming speech with Rob Porter, scribbling his thoughts in neat, clean penmanship. The president wrote, trade is bad. And I do love this. Apparently, the book's last paragraph is, in The Man and His Presidency, Trump lawyer John Dowd had seen the tragic flaw in the political back and forth, the evasions, the denials, the tweeting, the obscuring, crying fake news, the indignation. Trump had one overriding problem that Dowd knew but could not bring himself to say to the president, you're an effing liar. I don't know. So the media is going crazy over all this stuff. I don't know why. I will be frank with you. I do not understand why. There's nothing there that is new. If you didn't know all this stuff about President Trump before, it's because you haven't been watching or because you're willfully ignorant. President Trump does not know a lot about politics. He just doesn't. Okay, that's okay. You know, being ignorant about things does not mean that you're a bad president. It really doesn't. Like the great lie about being the president of the United States is you have to be an expert on things. You really do not have to be an expert on things. Jimmy Carter was a very smart man and a really, truly awful president of the United States. We've had a lot of presidents who are very smart and garbage presidents. Woodrow Wilson was the dean of Princeton University and one of the worst presidents in American history. And you don't have to be great at organization either to be a decent president. You know how many administrations have had chaos in their first couple of years? Bill Clinton had chaos in his first couple of years. None of this is a real shock. But the media are going to seize on it and claim that this means that Trump is senile and he shouldn't be president. None of it has any relevance. None of it is a big deal. There's only one way in which any of this is a big deal, and that's the feeling of constant chaos emanating from the White House. And it leads me to believe that Trump should basically fire half of the people who are in the executive branch right now just to prevent them from leaking so that there is some sort of semblance of normalcy at least emanating from the halls of the White House. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, plus a bad poll for Republicans, a few bad polls for congressional Republicans, and a bad poll for Republicans about young Americans. But first, let's talk about your Second Amendment rights. What if I told you that when you walk to your mailbox today, you're going to find $1,500 you've been needing to finally buy the gun of your dreams to protect your family and your freedom? You could pick your favorite 1911, a new AR-15, or a new hunting rifle. Well, that dream is going to come true for 10 of my listeners, thanks to my good friends over at the USCCA. They provide education, training, protection to responsible gun owners like you and me. Simply go to defendyourfamilynow.com right now to instantly lock in your 10 free chances to win. Go to defendyourfamilynow.com. It's easy, quick, 100% free, but your opportunity to pick any gun off the shelf is slipping away right now. It ends soon. The 10 lucky gun lovers will each receive $1,500 to buy any gun they want. Head over to defendyourfamilynow.com right now. Lock in those 10 free chances to win before it's too late. Don't get left behind. That's defendyourfamilynow.com. Again, defendyourfamilynow.com. The USCCA does great work educating people on gun use. They are there to provide legal defense services for you if, God forbid, you actually have to fire your gun at somebody because they're in your house trying to rob you or something. Go check them out right now, defendyourfamilynow.com. And when you do, you can lock in your 10 free chances to win before it's too late. Again, defendyourfamilynow.com. All right, so what does any of this matter? What does any of this matter? We'll talk about that in just 1 second. First, go over to dailywire.com and subscribe. For $19.99 a month, $9.99 a month, you get the rest of this show live, the rest of Andrew Klavan's show live, the rest of Michael Knowles' show live, and for $99 a year, you also get this, the very greatest in beverage vessels. It is filling even as we speak. Even as we speak, the leftist ears are automatically filling this thing, making it weightier and weightier. You can see my hand drops because it grows so weighty with the leftist tears that fill it. My goodness, we're going to have cleanup on aisle 7 pretty soon as this thing overflows. So go check that out right now. It's cheaper than the monthly subscription. Also, when you subscribe, you get the Sunday special. So you go to YouTube, you go to iTunes, you can subscribe, leave us a review over there. We appreciate it. We have a Sunday special this week featuring Christina Hoff Sommers, the factual feminist. And here's what it'll sound like.
I'm Christina Hoff Sommers, the factual feminist. And this Sunday, I'm going to be on the Ben Shapiro show, his Sunday special. So please listen, because we've broken the glass ceiling here. He's never had a woman on the Sunday special. This will be the first. So join us.
So there it is. Christina Hoff Sommers, you can hear that this Sunday. It'll be great. Go check it out right now. And we are the largest, fastest growing conservative podcast in the nation.